Hello, my name is Marie Alcock, and it's my honor to get to spend a little time with you today having a conversation about career and technical education and the future of what it can be and what current programs around the world or around our country are currently doing, because it's an exciting conversation. Historically, career and technical education had some assumptions about it. It conveyed certain ideas about what kinds of students would be involved, what kind of work that they would be doing, and how they would be selected to participate in those programs. All of those notions and narratives are being challenged openly today. And it is very exciting about what the work is now and the future of what it can be in all kinds of schools. So what I'd like to do with you today is to kind of go through three options or experiences that are concrete enough for us to start the narrative. They're not meant to be held up as examples of this is what we have to do. Not at all. But they do come from different purposes, and they took different steps to get there, and they have reached tremendous success. So I hold them up as kind of things to inspire you to join the narrative and start thinking about what career and technical education is going to mean for you at your school. So let's give it a shot and move right in. One of the things that we see with career and technical education can be highlighted through the work that we see in New York. New York has really invested a tremendous amount of money to really branch out what is known as career and technical education. And so one example is the Monroe One BOCES. What I find very exciting, and I'd like to share their site with you, what I find very exciting about them is the variety of programs that they bring in and the way that they support them. So if I were to see it on the left here, these auto services, childcare. Now the Cisco Networking Academy is a technology academy. They certainly have construction trades and cosmetology and culinary. But notice they also have these groups called the New Visions. The New Visions education professions and the New Visions medical careers. The reasons why these stand out, and I want to bring attention to them, is that all of the students who are participating in these New Visions programs also happen to be the students who tend to be the AP or advanced placement level students in these schools. So the programs had to coordinate with the on-site high schools so that the students could still complete all of their AP courses, their AP math, science, literature. And the other pieces that they're looking at are what we call dual credit programs. A dual credit program is a program where the students are earning and may even be fully matriculated at a college or university while they're also completing their CTE program or New Visions programs courses and their high school load. These are incredibly rigorous academies and pathway options, and they work in conjunction and in concert with the programs at the high school level. This is probably the most rigorous version of a CTE program system that I've seen to date. And in some cases, students are graduating with associate degrees by the time they complete their 12th year of high school. This is super exciting. So between you and I, we're going to call this option one. Now, option two, we're going to go visit Texas right now. And this high school, the Carl Wunsch Senior High School, has won national and international awards for their CTE design. And the reason is that they didn't isolate it as a program. You want to think about a transdisciplinary or fully interdisciplinary experience. What this high school has done is made the CTE elements or pathways central to the entire high school experience, meaning every student is participating with these options. They are also getting an incredibly rigorous and robust foundation of mathematics and literature and science and social studies and art and music as they lead into these academies, if you will. There's a medical academy at this school. There's also a professional academy, and there's a technical academy. This type of fully immersive experience for CTE has been described by students as exciting because it's not isolated. They don't have to choose between their academic program or their CTE program. They really are immersed in both and get to have those experiences, which they describe as helping them feel more prepared to make choices about their future, also feeling like they have more fun at school. It really is making their school day something where they're not waiting for the real world. They feel like they're in it already. And they get to explore a lot of career options. So between you and I, we're going to call this option 2, this kind of fully immersive, not isolated experience. Option 3, we're going to now go and we're going to go visit Montana. And what Montana has done with their CTE program is they really connected it to this idea of pathways. And what's exciting about that is that I want you to imagine a combination of an alternative high school experience and this CTE idea. And the way Montana achieved this was by fully connecting themselves with their immediate community. So in terms of assets in their community, jobs that are available both locally and, excitingly, in terms of through virtual work, they were able to set up credentials and credentialing systems that gave students opportunities to complete certifications and complete credentials during their high school experience. And that could be something that they complete in a 6-week window. That could be something they take 2 years to complete while also completing their high school course load. So that students are highly employable while they're in high school and immediately after high school. And so it's about getting the skills and hitting the market as they're talking about it here. And these pathways opened up into research. It opened up into medical professions, dentistry. It was in chemical engineering, lots of engineering, manufacturing, and culinary aspects. So again, it wasn't so much, oh, I'm going to be going to the culinary school. It was, I'm a level 1 culinary, I can handle food prep, or I'm a level 2 culinary certification or credential. I'm able to work in certain kinds of menus, pre-made menus, and safety regulations and inspection. Or I'm a level 3. I'm able to put together menus, design recipes, and be on my way to even going into chef certifications. So this idea of credentialing is very exciting. And by having levels, level 1, level 2, and level 3, students can decide to maybe dip their toe into a pathway or several pathways, or fully commit and complete one while continuing to participate with their high school activities and classes as normal. So hopefully these 3 examples, the idea of that New York school where it was rigorous, graduating with an associate's degree, or the idea of a fully interdisciplinary experience where career and technical education for all, something like this as in Texas, or again in Montana, this credentialing idea and having alternative pathways running simultaneously with the high school experience. These are all CT options. They're happening around our country right now very successfully. And they're something that we can put together if we want to wrap the narrative around that. Thank you very much for your time. Science. And the brain science we want to talk about today really is the foundational brain science behind STEM. Now, if you've heard about STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics combo, the reason why it's been getting so much attention, the reason why we want to think about how are we preparing students to participate in STEM careers and STEM experiences, we really want to pause and take a look at the brain science behind what we're really looking for. So to get into that, let's talk about where the word STEM, one of the most misunderstood acronyms out there. You'll hear it called STEM, STEAM, STREAM. I would like to add STREAM, which is a tribute to the idea of how many content areas we can connect to STEM and STEM work. The truth is the research behind STEM started with social studies. It started with the study of humans and human decision-making patterns, if you will. And so when I look at human interactions and human decisions, I get to see patterns, which is a science and mathematical connection. And when I look at patterns, it results in meaningful questions. So one thing I love to say as a high school math teacher is that mathematics leads us to questions worth asking and learning more about. So we use probability and statistics from mathematics to lead us to meaningful questions. Now, those questions, as you know, are then studied by scientists. That's what they do. Scientists actually aren't there to solve problems. Scientists are there to describe phenomena. And they want to accurately describe phenomena. So to a scientist, a positive or a negative result in an experiment is still a win because I'm getting data around a phenomena. And they like to write informationals about that. And that's the connection to literacy and science. They also design and create models for us. Again, a link to the mathematics. So once these questions have been put out there and studied by science, you create an acknowledgement around problems, and then you present challenges. Now, engineers accept challenges. Engineers are problem solvers. By definition, that's what they do. My mother has been an engineer and she works in telecommunications, and she would often go and be a speaker for female engineers. And she would say, the first thing about an engineer is that you're a problem solver. You accept those challenges. But engineers create solutions, maybe prototypes or proposals, but solutions to these problems or challenges. Those solutions have to be tested. So back to science, we set up experiments, we test solutions according to criteria or boundaries. And we set those up then for an argument, which is the best solution. And now we're back into literacy and social studies, creating arguments to help communities and people make the best decisions. This structure and teaching people to participate in this structure is what led to this idea of a call for STEM. And it is describing this cycle for human decision-making. Beyond that, there's also the interplay between government or policies, regulations, media, and all of media's powers. So now you have sound, you have art, images, all media, and then the idea of business or industry. The idea here is that media and business can influence government policy. Government and business can influence the media message, and media and government can impact what works in industry and business. So really making sure that students are aware of this and how to participate in it. So if you and I are looking at the brain science behind STEM, we realize all of these content areas on the right-hand side of the screen are a part of STEM. So what does that mean for us? Well, it means that we really have to think about what are the pathways that we're creating and developing in terms of curriculums so that students are fluent, right, in all of the literacies involved in STEM thinking. And one of the things we had to call out, remember what I said earlier, STEM is one of the more misunderstood acronyms because people think engineering and they go, okay, robotics, Legos, I got it. That's a great start. But what are the engineers? And people talk about the top 5, right? So mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, you've got chemical engineering, environmental engineering, and aeroscience. But between you and I, we have a lot more that we can start tapping into in terms of curriculum. Civil engineering. You've got systems engineering. My mother was telecommunications engineering, biomedical engineering. You've got nuclear, you've got sound. I dare you to try and be Beyonce without a sound engineer, or I dare anyone to try and work in media at any of the major television or broadcasting systems without art, right? And so this idea of image, you've got this wonderful combination of the contemporary literacies and the classical literacies to be what you and I now could call the STEM literacies, but it touches on everything. So thinking about it this way and really keeping in mind all of the engineering connections that we can tap into, you and I could start at elementary school, go into middle school, and ultimately high school with very clear maybe credentials, certifications in different kinds of engineering or STEM practices, if you will. You and I could start thinking about assessments and portfolios that lead together into these kinds of experiences that qualify as STEM programs without it being isolated, right? So what you and I are now talking about is a full interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary approach. Well, looking at these kinds of updated assessments, we can easily have students build a portfolio, a STEM assessment portfolio that would let them be qualified to apply to any STEM program at the highest levels. We could even have them earning associate's degrees at that level if we chose to go in that kind of a direction. But look at the options here. Artwork being identified as a STEM option, creating timelines, doing film critiques, business plans or pitch decks, creating infographics, working in creating blueprints, or having them be able to work in mathematical modeling, building models, working and operating as a mathematician in maybe a local area, working within local research groups to collect data and display that data. So keeping this in mind, we really hope that this inspires you to think about how open STEM is. It really is a lot more than just robotics and Legos. It is Legos and robotics. It is coding, but we can really connect it to a lot more in terms of engineering options so more of our students can be successful in the STEM areas. So one thing I want to share with you is one of our schools that we work with called High Tech High. I want to play for you a video from one of the CEOs. High Tech Highs are now located all over the country in high tech middles. And I also want to show you some of the projects that they're working on. So if you can see the screen, you'll notice here, these are some of their projects: chemistry in conflict, human versus nature, the idea of spaceship Earth. What I like about these websites, and I do encourage you to go and visit, is that they put online all of the curriculum that leads up to these kinds of projects that they're doing, because their projects change all the time and the students are always moving forward. But notice that they can that any teacher can go and participate in and look at the actual work, the actual curriculum, and even in some ways, the steps that the school took to make this kind of work a reality. I love this, a fight with gravity, in terms of a flight project that they did. I'm gonna take this moment and I'm gonna click over to the middle school just so that you can see the kinds of projects that they're also doing at High Tech Middle. Here we go. Notice again the range of topics. I loved urban ants. That was a fantastic one. Dirt detectives. This was part of that research. They actually cooperated with EPA scientists. And one of the exciting things that came out of it in terms of motivation were the students were able to say, that's what researchers do. They wore sweatshirts and jeans and they dug in the dirt and they were out there with their hands. And so this idea of not separating people who work with their minds and people who work with their hands, and students felt that being a researcher was very doable, which increased their motivation. Last but not least, I just want to give you a quick tour. This is High Tech Elementary. I can't stress it enough that STEM and hands-on work like CTE programs are not for high school only. In fact, we can start STEM work really early. So here we have Liberty Station, then and now. We have lots of evidence from this. This one's been going on for a long time. This is a case study project that they did. Life by the Tide, and then the Healthy Me project. Very important work, all of it STEM-based. I think that helping you, and you can do a YouTube search, but looking at the philosophy behind how STEM gets integrated into the work that we do at school, you'll get a lot of examples. But let's watch now, and I'll see if I can make sure you can hear it. And we're just going to show the beginning part of this, not the whole video.
I think that everything that we're doing here is obvious. It's like Einstein said, it was easy to discover the theory of relativity. All I had to do was ignore a few basic axioms. What are they? One axiom is that you should segregate kids by social class. We don't do that. You should segregate those who are trained to use their heads from those who are trained to use their hands. You should segregate those who are going to college from those not going to college. You should segregate the school from community, like the old citadels from the 1200s. Those are really old notions, you know? And so we just basically ignore all those things. And that's why when people say, oh, I don't know if we can do this, and well, it's a question of will.
So I'm going to pause here, and I do invite you to look up the work that we're doing at High Tech High and High Tech Middle and High Tech Elementary to get a sense of what the work can look like. They're not the only examples we have out there, and we're happy to share with you as many examples as you need to continue your narrative around what can STEM mean, STEM, STEAM, stream, and stream of a. And I want to just let you know how much I appreciate you being open to what STEM really can be when it's fully implemented and not just simply a notion that we have or something we give a maybe a little bit of a nod, right? Something where we keep it isolated. The more we embrace the brain science behind it, the more successful our students will be. Thank you for the work that you do. Good luck.